In 2025, the Wall Street Journal reported a job offer that could, under its most generous assumptions, be worth up to $1.5 billion over 6 years. Not for a company, for one engineer. Meta called the reporting ridiculous. The engineer said no. He joined Meta later that year anyway, reportedly for less. That is one end of the AI labor market. Here's the other. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, as of March 2026, 5.6% of recent American college graduates were unemployed, against about 4.3% for the workforce as a whole. For most of the past 3 decades, a fresh degree meant you were less likely to be unemployed than the average worker. That relationship has flipped. To be precise, a degree still beats no degree. Young workers without one sit near 8%. But the head start it used to buy at the door has thinned to nothing. Both numbers come out of the same boom at the same time. This video is about how one market split in two and why the people writing those offers should pay close attention to the locked door at the bottom. Start at the top. In June 2025, Mark Zuckerberg went shopping. Meta put about $14 billion into Scale AI for a 49% stake and brought its founder, Alexander Wang, over to lead a brand new division, Meta Superintelligence Labs. The name is the mission statement, then came the offers. OpenAI's Sam Altman claimed Meta was dangling signing bonuses as high as $100 million. Meta executives called that misleading. Wired reported total packages reaching $300 million over 4 years. Apple's roaming Pang reportedly left for a multi-year package above $200 million. The specifics are disputed. The direction of travel is not really in question. Why would anyone pay that? Here is the crude math a buyer can do. The companies behind the labs are committing hundreds of billions to data centers and chips. If one researcher makes those machines even 1% more efficient, that percent is a fortune. Against the hardware bill, 9 figures for a person can be the cheap line item. Economists have a name for the pattern: superstar economics. When a market turns winner take most, the price of the very best detaches from the price of everyone else. Not the top 10% of the field. The same short list of names every lab keeps bidding on. That short list is the whole market. And a package like that buys 3 specific things: time, a proven team skips years of dead ends; judgment, knowing which of 1,000 experiments deserves the compute; and experience, a memory of which approaches already failed, the kind that never gets published. Now walk to the other end of the same market, the end where careers are supposed to begin. It does not feel like the same economy. For decades, the deal down here was simple. You start on the bottom rung: the junior analyst job, the support desk, the research assistant seat, the routine code. Boring work, but somebody paid you to learn. The rung was the door into everything above it. That rung is getting harder to find. On Handshake, a major recruiting platform for American college students, job postings fell 15% year over year in its class of 2025 report, while applications per posting jumped 30%, a much bigger crowd in front of fewer doors. Stanford's Digital Economy Lab tracks a widening gap in live payroll records from millions of workers. Watch the 2 lines separate. Since ChatGPT launched in November 2022, employment for 22 to 25-year-olds in the most AI-exposed jobs has fallen about 13%. Their least exposed peers grew about 9%, and the gap is still opening, averaged over the whole 3.5 years. The exposed group has been shrinking almost 4% a year, and the pace has not slowed. Same age, same economy, different exposure. And the most exposed jobs lean heavily on tasks current AI systems handle well: summarizing documents, triaging support tickets, cleaning data, writing routine code. That reads like the bottom rung's job description. Meanwhile, about 41% of recent graduates are underemployed, working jobs that typically do not require a college degree. Unemployment gets the headlines. Underemployment is the quieter, larger story. People starting their careers in jobs that do not use the degree they just paid for. So the verdict seems obvious. AI killed the entry-level job. That is the headline version. The evidence is more interesting than the headline, and it starts with a study from inside the Fed itself. In June 2026, economists at the New York Fed published exactly that study. Their estimate, and they call it a rough one, remote work accounts for roughly 2/3 of the rise in young graduate unemployment. As teams went remote, many became less willing to hire people who still needed close mentoring. And through 2024, differences in AI exposure explained far less of the gap than remote friendliness did. Both findings can fit, and the timing is the key. First, remote work made juniors costly to train, so firms hired fewer of them. Then, from around 2024, the Stanford series shows the exposed group breaking away, a pattern consistent with an AI effect, though researchers still argue how much is really AI and how much is everything else. Either way, two different forces landed on the same rung. Because entry-level hiring is the easiest thing to freeze. No layoffs, no headlines, just openings that never get posted. Here is what that misses. Part of a junior salary was never payment for labor at all. It was tuition, paid by the employer. The firm covered your learning years and hoped to earn it back through everything you did after. Remote work made that tuition harder to deliver. AI made it look unnecessary. Now hold both ends of this market next to each other, because each explains the other. So where does a $1.5 billion engineer actually come from? Not from nowhere. Andrew Tulloch spent more than a decade building machine learning systems at Facebook, then moved to OpenAI, then co-founded Thinking Machines Lab. And only after all of that came the reported billion-dollar offer. The judgment Meta wanted was manufactured somewhere. Years of unglamorous junior work, inside somebody else's lab, on somebody else's payroll. Every superstar is a junior somebody once paid to train. Which brings me to the claim of this video, and I want to be precise about it. Nobody has proven the graduate numbers and the billion-dollar offers are one causal chain, and a junior analyst is not a frontier researcher. But both ends are pricing the same contradiction. The industry now pays fortunes for accumulated judgment while defunding the very years in which judgment gets built. Play the contradiction forward. Fewer juniors trained now means fewer seasoned people years from now. Scarcer seniors make the bidding war worse, not better, until training your own people finally looks cheap again. Price signals may eventually force that correction. Nothing guarantees it arrives quickly, and someone pays for the years in between. On July 13th, 2026, more than 200 economists and AI researchers signed a statement titled "We Must Act Now," warning that AI could transform the economy on a scale beyond the Industrial Revolution, compressed into a fraction of the time. 16 of the signers hold Nobel Prizes. They are not endorsing my latter story. They are saying the ground under the labor market is moving fast. One name on that list stopped me, Darren Acemoglu, who, with Simon Johnson, shares a Nobel Prize, spent years pushing back on the loudest AI hype, and both laureates signed anyway. Signing a statement is not a conversion, it is a hedge. But careful people hedge when they think the tail risk is real. While that argument plays out, someone absorbs the cost. And it is not the labs. They can soften any shortage with money, outbidding everyone for the seniors who already exist. The cost lands on the 22-year-olds asked to start a career on a ladder whose first rung was quietly removed. A graduate cannot outbid anybody. How does this resolve? Honestly, nobody knows yet, and I distrust anyone who claims to. Maybe AI itself becomes the mentor, and the ladder gets rebuilt in a shape we do not recognize. Maybe apprenticeships come back, because the price of seniors eventually forces them back. Both are live possibilities. So here is what I am watching. 1. Does any major lab launch a real AI-era apprenticeship, actually paying to train juniors again? 2. Do comparable offers keep setting records? That would not prove the shortage got worse, but it is how a shortage usually sounds. 3. The Stanford dashboard. Watch the trend. Not any single month. Does the gap for young workers keep widening or finally bend? Which leaves my question for you. What was your first rung? The junior job that taught you more than school ever did? And would that job still exist now? Tell me below. I read every answer. Lately, it is the best data I have.